6 a.m. Central African Time. Good morning. Thank you so much for choosing to wake up with us here on Eswatini TV. This is your favorite breakfast show, Kusile breakfast show. Something is feeling good about today. I don't know what it is, but I suppose it's just, the trajectory of the day. It's just in the air. The temperature is operating at, 12 degrees Celsius right now. Expected to rise to 27 degrees Celsius as the day progresses. My name is Fiso Ngumalo. Happy to be your host this morning alongside my co-host. Good morning, Kusile.
Good morning, Swissa. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. How about you?
You said something's feeling great.
I don't know what it is.
Something, optimistic
just in the air.
about today. I think it's the weather.
I don't know what it is. I just can't put my finger on it, but I don't know. I'll feel it later. I don't know. That's going to come to me.
That's a good feeling to have, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a very good morning to our viewers. Today on the program, recent air quality monitoring in Mbabane shows unhealthy pollution levels. The Eswatini Environment Authority issued an alert advising residents to limit outdoor activities and remain indoors where possible. Beyond this alert, pollution in Eswatini, among other African countries, is a reality deriving from waste burning, vehicle emissions, industrial activity and household energy sources such as charcoal and firewood. The country is, though, signatory to regional and international agreements on environmental protection, but enforcement and behavior change remain challenges. We'll speak to the Eswatini Environment Authority on the recent revelation on air quality in the capital and progress against environmental pollution.
And then, of course, this morning, we're also taking a closer look at one of government's most ambitious digital transformation projects. That is the Government in Your Hand. Remember, it is the application that was launched in May this year, and it's being billed as a game changer in the way Emaswati interact with public services, from renewing documents to accessing key information. It is an app that promises to put government quite literally in the palm of your hand. Joining us this morning is going to be, of course, we want to unpack the progress first and foremost, because if we're talking early this year, it means it has been, being used by a couple of Emaswati for a significant period of time now. So I think it's about time we're able to track the progress as well as what lies ahead. We're going to speak to Bongandla Mandla. He's the Director of E-Government, as well as Sakile Dlamini, the Acting Director of Communications. Quite an important conversation, an interesting one at that, but also your conversation looks to be very, very critical and quite urgent if you think about it.
A jam-packed show, I must inform our viewers.
Absolutely.
But first, let's have a look at what's making headlines in the newspapers this morning. On the Eswatini Observer front page this morning, His Majesty King Mswati III commissions first hut at Butimba for 2025. In the image that you may see, this been captioned that His Majesty King Mswati III was joined by Libutho in dancing at Hlanebwa residence before he commissioned the first hunt of Butimba ceremony, where they started at Mdolofieni in Hlane Royal National Park yesterday. Also, in another headline there, suppliers claim that they also delivered to hospitals. This is with regards to the 33.9 million emalangeni tender that was advertised by government. Auditor General statement disputing delivery of drugs put into question as 5 suppliers reveal award letters instructing them to deliver to the ministry or department where the order originated. Also, a story that you can expect on page 2 there is students demanding action over unaccredited BSA courses. That's one institution that's actually been making the rounds online. And on page 3, Bennett takes on ENPF conversion. Also on page 7, Crown wants harsher sentences a harsher sentence for serial rapist.
Bull lose captain and keeper as Langanyawo walk out. That is the top story on the Eswatini Observer Sports headlines. This duo refuses to sign new contract and they have left camp. In other news, Mbabane Swallows ownership drama takes a new twist. Of course, the stormy Mbabane Swallows ownership saga has taken yet another dramatic turn. This is with the club's current management committee reportedly opening the door to reconciliation with the rival Swallows Pty Ltd faction. On another one, Forces Derby launches Mula Sport Trade Fair Netball Cup. That is the much-anticipated 2025 edition of the Mula Sport Trade Fair Cup, the tournament that gets underway this Sunday at Mavuso Sports Center with a thrilling Security Forces Derby that is set to open up the proceedings. In other stories, Figueiredo joins Chippa United. The former Denver Sundowns and Eswatini international winger Justice Figueiredo has officially joined SA side Premier Soccer League outfit Chippa United, sealing a permanent transfer from Richards Bay FC. The last story speaks to glue used to patch 5 million Malangeni synthetic track. That is then just hours before the Confederation of Schools Sports Association in Southern Africa, COSASA, the Athletics Track and Field Championships on Monday. The workers at Somhlolo National Stadium were seen applying glue to fix sections of the newly installed 5 million Malangeni synthetic track.
Making headlines on the Eswatini Daily News this morning, His Majesty King Mswati III on Tuesday led the annual Butimba hunting expedition at Hlane Game Reserve, highlighting this event's enduring role in unifying the Kingdom of Eswatini and reinforcing cultural identity. Also in another headline, Eswatini strengthens drought mitigation strategies. And we also have the Competition Commission ordering top retailers to stop bread wholesale. That's a story you can expect on page 2 of Eswatini Daily News. And interestingly, Tumela Wena by gospel artist Nothando Hlope has just hit 100,000 views on YouTube.
Making the top sports story, Figueiredo sealing that cheaper move. The Eswatini international Justice Figueiredo finally joins SA Betway Premiership side Chippa United and made his debut against his former club, Richards Bay, on Tuesday night. While on the backdrop of the COSASA games that are ongoing at Mavuso Sports Center, the Athletics have restored national pride. And then, Manchester United making headlines. Surely they will not be positive. Manchester United not ready to play in Europe. Not surprised at all.
And those are just some of the stories that we are waking up to this morning. Stay with us because in a moment we're going to have Tinzaba in Siswati and then we'll have our English news bulletin at exactly 7 a.m. This is Kusile Breakfast Show.
Kusile, I know you're not a big football fan, but I do want to ask you.
No.
Imagine you are a football fan and your team is always losing. And even if they are not playing, they are bringing out statements that they are not ready to play. It's always a bad story after a bad story. How would that make you feel as a fan? Would you still be a fan of that team or you try to look for a new team to support?
I've always considered football as a sport of loyalty. We've seen some club supporters really being disappointed when it comes to certain team performances, but they've always remained.
So it's like a marriage vow, for better or for worse. What if it's always worse?
It's always worse.
Yeah, what if it's always worse?
Loyalty, Swiso.
That's the reality for Manchester United fans. So
they still have fans though, so that's a good thing.
9 minutes after 6, let's go for a net break. We're going to be talking about Manchester this much. Let's go for a net break.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Ngiphinze nguvusele ngwalomhle nathi indzaba namhla ekuseni. Ingonyama seyikhokhela ibutho lebutimba ukuthi liyocala kudingela emahlathini njengekucala kwabo butimba. Silo besingethwe ngemakhosikazi yaso Silo Sigodlo mvunankulu welive ngesikhathi sikhipha lona libutho esigodlweni ehlane.
Kube nekukhala elicilongo lomhla ekuseni libutho livelela kuhlamela. Lokhu kulandzela ukuthi ingonyama ilikhiphe libutho esigodlweni engabezweni ngelisondlo ukuthi liye kuyawugoba emadolo emphakathi wasemafutheni. Leli butho libe selichubeka ne-order yokuthi lichubekele esigodlweni ehlane lapho liphelele khona ngetinkhani. Ekuhlameleni kwalo esigodlweni elihlane libutho lingene elikhunjini lagidza nayo ingubo yemhlaba. Silo semhlaba besingethwe bamva benkosi mvunankulu welive kuba betukhulu kanye namabandla ekweluleka. Libutho lakhe umnikati eliphume ngebuningi balo kwatise ukuthi bese vele amadze emalanga lelisiko lingendeki njengoba ngemhambo welive lendeka njalo emva kweminyaka letsite. Alifani-ke naleminye imikhosi leyenteka njalo ngeminyaka. Ngemuva kokugidza indvuna yemajaha acoma entanyeni magagula ibe seyikhokha i-order lebuya kuyo ingonyama leshoko ukuthi yini lebhekeke kilo libutho.
Majaha kusokondaba butimba bephuma nyalo buya emdolofiyeni emkhathanisweni wasemvelo emdolofiyeni kaya lezinto nowathi kwabosebenzile enganethi libutho bephuma nyalo emdolofiyeni labiwa khona.
Libutho libe selinikela khona libhekisa lapho selikhonje khona ingonyama. Kufikeni kwelibutho emdolofiyeni lifike lakhombisa umdlandla nemandla ekucala umsebenzi webukhosi. Ingonyama ibe seyikhokha i-order yekucala kwawo umsebenzi.
usonandaba waphansi kwamzana ngesindima samnika uthimba lamdolfina Jaha, bethi pamu, bataba ngabona bambi. Utawusatha indlela ibhekele. Yawuthi walela siswe khona sibuye emuva. Wena usipamu nasengelwini yamatani. Ungadubula ubhekise emuva ngoba utalutho. Uyavakala jaha. Namhlanje yamatani. Asathi sithathe indlela, sitafona tisuse ukuthi fake ekhaya. Nasebhala ikilomo utawusho usale uma kudubula kuyela emuva nalethi nyamatana ungazama usulokoze usutawuphuma ekhaleni nango ama-roadblocks abekiwe utawulethwa la asabonakala ukuthi nami imoto yakho uyavakala jaha.
Ibutho seliyakuva ngayo imvubu yamhlaba ukuthi kusasa ikhokha i-oda lethini. Etintsabeni kubika Pholile Maziya, Anathemba Mamba naSambulo Masuku esigodlweni ehlane.
Indvuna yetekulima umhlonishwa Mandla Chauka icela abafuyi ukuthi bakhoshishe imfuyo yabo emgwaqweni ngoba kuba khona kwayo emgwaqweni kungadala tingoti. Imvuna ithi njengoba kusonzela umkhosi wemhlanga kumcoka ukuthi tivakashi telive nesive tivikeleke tingotini letingadalwa kuba kunyenti kwemfuyo emgwaqweni.
Imfuyo iyachubeka nokuba yinkinga emigwaqweni yakuleli. Litiko letemisebenti lemikhulu nekuthutsa lithi ngesifo semlomo nemasondo lesikhona eveni kulukhunike kutibutsa ngoba kungavama kwanza lo mkhuhlane uma setihlangene tibe kwenza wonye. Indvuna yetekulima umhlonishwa Mandla Chauka ithi bafuyi abagcoce imfuyo yabo baqinisekise ukuthi ayikho dude nemigwaco.
Singacela lokuthi sikhuthade ukuthi phela eMaswati awayicize imfuyo. Siye sithi imfuyo ingcebo eMaswati. Kulukhuni ngeke ukuthi ungayekela ingcebo yakho ihambe ihaza esigangeni ungayathi nokuthi lelephi bese idala letingoti lesiye sitibone eveni. Siyacela ukuthi esiveni sengwenyama asibane sitinake tinkomo tingaye emgwaqweni likakhulu njengoba kutawuqhamuka ivakashi vele leqhamuka ngaphandle kube busy eveni. Kungaba buhlungu bese kuvela tingoti lethamba ncane emphefumulo yabantu bekuhamba kanti nayo eMaswati asisho ukuthi yona ilula yini nayo umphefumulo nje into leligugu emhlabeni nakuye umdali. Siyacela ke lokuthi abamane baqinise lokho ukuthi elusa tingomo bativalele tingalali esigangeni tingalali futhi emahlelweni. Singihulumende siyadzinga lokuthi sakhe letindzawo tekuciza noma tokubeka letinkomo nathi tithethwe emgwaqweni tibe tisabalale eveni ngoba nyalo cishe indzawo yokubeka tinkomo kamanzini kuphela mako kukhona ukuthi uthathe inkomo kahlathi utoyibeka kamanzini.
Kutike kuphephe Steven tivakashi bafuya baqinisekise ukuthi bayayinaka imfuyo yabo ngaso sonke isikhathi. Lobikako ngugiyani Msibi ngina lelethi Mhlanga sisehlane.
Kufohla kwendzaba yekuhamba kwemphathi wenkampani yaka MTN Wandile Mtshali kumshiye Mtshali alimele kakhulu emoyeni ikakhulukati ngale kathi akusiko liciniso lokwabhalwa ngaye nakubikwa lendzaba.
Kwalimada kakhulu nami ngathuka nami kubona sengisendo labantu ngaphalela nami kwaba surprise nje konke umuntu hawu sekukhunywa ngani manje angikwadi ke lokhunywa ngakho. So kwangakuthi nabibona ngathuka obviously kwangiphatha kabi kakhulu ukuthi kukhunywe into lenje lengaseloqiniso and to that level yemalisi I think kwaba buhlungu kakhulu. But ke sesibatsala ufuna bese soyabuka sindvo uyithatha njani ebuzala bakho ukwathi ukuthi ungathathi ngekwata ungathathi ngemawala but ukwathi ukuthi ufake istructure ukuthi njengoba sesilanyalo senda njani ukuthi sendlule kulenzaba so sathi nase sihlangana nebaphathi ebhodini ukuthi sokunanako kanti phela bese sisamanage le communication sesenda njani ya safumana usasichibekeni ngalendlela besicuma ngayo sichibeke sicommunicate njengoba senda ke kwaseyaphuma ema notices la kufanele lapho lokhombisa kona ukuthi vele le structure so communication lesikhona and it was solid it's just nje ukuthi khona lokwendeka that sine nawe ngeke sathi ukuthi kwendekani and sine sithi ukuthi akuthi ngeke ukuthi zikwadi ufike lapho sesibatsala ukuthi asathi ukuthi i-maturity level yethu ithi chubeka usebenze kuzothi silanga lakho lifike egcineni lapho khona sitho waba ne proper transition yalomsebenzi lebasinuke wena ebakangwana.
Litiko letekwatisa kulombukiso walonyaka i-Eswatini International Trade Fair litawufundzisa liphindze likhulumisane nesive ngetebuchwephesha letifaka ekhatsi lihlelo lapho eMaswati atfola khona lusito ngetebuchwephesha i-Government in Your Hand application. Umcondzisi waloluhlelo etiko letekuchumana nekwatisa Bonga Ndlangamandla uthi eMaswati laseyabhaliselwe loluhlelo angu-2,600. Ndlangamandla uvetele kunakachaza ngaloko litiko litawube likhangisa ngako embukisweni walonyaka.
Litiko letekuchumana nekwatisa lisukumise ngalokusemtsetfweni uhlelo i-Government in Your Hand loluhlose kutfutfukisa indlela sive lesitfola lusito lwahulumende ngayo. Ngemetamo ke kwatisa kabandi sive ngaloluhlelo umcondzisi we-e-government Bonga Ndlangamandla uthi sive sitawuchazelwa ngendlela loluhlelo lusebenta ngayo kanye naletinye tinhlelo tetebuchwephesha litiko lelitisungulele eMaswati.
Kulithuba lethu thina silitiko laka ICT ukuthi sisale sisebenzisa lo mbukiso lo lokuthi sitivete eMaswatini silethe nale app lesikhuluma ngayo sibafundzise eMaswati ukuthi isebenta kanjani. Mhlambe nje kubuyele emva kancane ngisho ukuthi ema downloads lesesinawo acishe aya etinkulungwane ezintathu nyalo lesicala silaunche nje ngaMay ngekubuka kwethu ke kusho ukuthi eMaswati ayayikhuthalela kepha ke leti nombolo ngisho ukuthi diphansi kakhulu uma ubuka ukuthi silive lelingale kwesigitsigitsi sebantu kuhle lokuthi sifunze ngale tebuchwephesha ikakhulu ngoba impilo lesesiphila kuyo nyalo vele iyadidzinga le tebuchwephesha lesikwendile ke induna yetekwatisa ilaunche luhlelo lolusha lokufundisa eMaswati lapho sithi sikathe ukuthi masingafikinyelela kuMaswati la ngu-300,000 la 300,000 ke akusibo abantu abesikole kuphela sibuke nje lonke eliswati lelikhuthalela kufunza ngale tebuchwephesha ingakho loluhlelo lwesilwakhile lutholakala kuto letekuchumana kusho ukuthi nje kune website longena kuyo sipartnerishe netihlobo tethu si RSTP nguye lochuba loluhlelo uyangena kuleli page mawungaya nje page ekhasini la hulumende utayithola le website la ungena khona ufunze mahala.
Litiko letekwatisa litawuba nato tonke tinkampani letingaphansi kwaleli tiko letfaka ekhatsi tekucubungula i-Royal Science and Technology Park lapho ke kutawukhangiswa nangetinhlelo letitfutfukile letentiwe ngeMaswati. Kubika Sondo Mlangeni eMbabane.
Kutawusukumiswa inombolo lapho khona bosomabhizinisi batawufaka khona tikhalo uma bangakabhadaleki kahle imali uma bende imisebenti yentuthuko leyahlukene. Lokhu kuvetwe indvuna yelitiko letemabhizinisi uMhlonishwa Manqoba Khumalo lapho achaze khona ukuthi lo mkhuba sewuyanza ngobe netinkampani letitimele kanye nema-parastatals sekayakwenda intfo latsite angeke nani litiko livumele.
Sikhathi lesiningi sikhanza ukuthi lama invoices abhajwa le kulabamvu labatholele service sekunemkhuba ukuthi noma ngabe ngikuparastatal mangabe le invoice kufanele ngisayine mina ukuthi cha ngutholile lobo ukuthi ukulethile angisayini ngimela ukuthi kusebe khona lokuncane lokukhokhako bese ngikhona ke ngisebenta ngemixa engcenye so abantu abaningi bacabanga ukuthi ababhadalwa lama departments aka finance noma ngilitiko la finance sesikuthola kunyalo ukuthi isikhathi lesiningi abantu basuke bamele ukuthi kube khona lokuncane abakutholako lama invoices abhajwa le ematiko ethu abhajelwe kuma departments lamanye angakayile ka finance sithi ke silitiko ke sitawukusho esiveni ukuthi sikhona sitawumemetela inombolo lapho khona abantu batawuletha khona letikhalo tabo noma ngi-WhatsApp noma ngi-SMS noma ucingo kube khona umuntu lokuthatha kwakufake kuthi mina ngiphuthile kubhadalwa ikakhulu ema-SMS.
Mengameli wenhlangano yabosomabhizinisi labancane i-Business Federation of Eswatini Kusile Dladla uyaphawula ngalesinqumo selitiko.
Vele besesiye kanene Minister of Finance kuyodigicita nje ngalesimo lesikhona sokuthi bangabhadaleki osomabhizinisi ngesikhathi, but siyabonga lokuthi tikhalo tethu usho ukuthi tiyevakala ikakhulu nangabe sekusukuma yena Minister we-Commerce, because sibuke kuye vele line minister wethu vele bekuyinkinga lemangalisako indzaba yokuthi lomunye ubhadelwe lomunye akabhadalwa nayo leyo ngiyobe isihlupha ngoba besehluleka lokuthi ungabe kwentiwa yini ukuthi ama-invoices alomunye abhadalwe ngoba we are competing ku-space sinye.
Umphathi wenhlangano yabosomabhizinisi bemthabo i-Federation of Eswatini Business Community Ben Simelane uncome litiko wachaza ukuthi batawulilandzelela kuthi lesinqumo sifezeke kusitakale bosomabhizinisi njengoba lena yintfo lesebakhale ngayo sikhatsi leside. Lobikako nginelisiwe Ndlangamandla nginavuma inkosi Nzinisa eMbabane.
Njengoba esothuliwe umbiko etiko letisebenzi embuso yokubuyekedwa kwamaholo etisebenzi uma sofika emaphethelweni kufanele litiko letemafa likhiphe imali yokubhadala atisebenzi. Sikhulumisene imvuna yetemafa umhlonishani Workenberg kuva ukuthi imali libekiwe lebalelwa ku5 million emalangeni itawenela yini futhi uma ingeneli uhulumende utawuyithathaphi imali yekwengeta.
Indvuna ithi njengoba kumaphakelo alonyaka bebabeke imali lengu500 million emalangeni uma kubonakala ukuthi imali yekubuyeketwa kwemiholo iyenca kulena kutawufanele kubukwe ukuthi ingabhadalwa kanjani.
As you know, we have provided $500 million emalangeni in this year's budget just as a preemptive budget amount for salary review. To try and find more money in this year's budget will be very, very difficult. And so, unfortunately, if the salary review is showing to be a much higher number, we're going to have to probably try to negotiate with the unions and see what we can do to maybe phase it. So, listen, maybe a certain portion this year, a certain portion next year.
Umhlonishwa uthi lenye indlela kungaba ukuthi bakhulumisane netinhlangano tetisebenzi ukuthi kubhadalwe ngetigaba kulomnyaka ifakwe lenye bese eminyakeni lotako kufakwa lenye. Umhlonishwa ugcizelele ekutheni kutawumelwa umbiko lophelele wekubuyekedwa kwemaholo etisebenzi ngilapho ke uhulumende atawenda sinqumo lesiphelele khona. Umbiko welibhange lemhlaba iWorld Bank uveta ukuthi itisebenzi tahulumende tibalelwa ku40,000 kuleli. Imali letiyiholako ibalelwa ngetulu kwa10 billion emalangeni ngeminyaka. Lobikako nginelisiwe Ndlangamandla eMbabane.
Ayachubeka amalungiselelo embukiso walonyaka ye-Eswatini International Trade Fair. Bosomabhizinisi sebaya ngekucetha kulungisa titandi tekukhangisa emabhizinisi abo. Lebuke tekuthengisa ebandleni lelikhanga abahlanyeli imali isiphesihle enkabinde uthi emalungiselelo seka ku85%. Uthi lonyaka tifundvo temabhizinisi business seminars atawaba khona kanye netinhlelo tekunaka umtimba wellness.
Emalungiselelo embukiso walonyaka i-Eswatini International Trade Fair sekasesigabeni lesisetulu njengoba abosomabhizinisi balapha eveni kanye nalabo labachamuka ngephandle kwelive sebaqalile kulungisa tindzawo labatatisebentisa kukhangisa ngemisebenzi yabo. Lonyaka lombukiso utawucala mhla ka-29 August 2025 wephethe mhla ka-8 September 2025. Lombukiso ke unetigaba letimbalwa letifaka ekhatsi kutfutfukisa emabhizinisi kanye nebantfu njengoba kunemncintiswano wemoto letawuwinwa. Lobukete kutsengisa kuleli ebandleni lelibuke kukhanga bahlanyeli imali isiphesihle enkabinde uyachaza ngalamalungiselelo.
Maybe siku 80-85%, so we're close to maybe sicetse ama-companies aqalile ayataka titandi tabo labanye sebacompletile labanye they are bringing in itindvo tabo labatatibeka etandini, so I think we are almost there. Sekusele kancane occupancy sibonile cishe yonke amaholo ngathi sisavele agcwele. Companies nalabachamuka bo-Taiwan sebavele bafikile, and those labachamuka bo-Zambia bagcine basishayela basisendleleni nanabo. So I think we're expecting a full house, no completion maybe by deadline day, which is our Thursday.
Lo mbukiso awugcini ngekukhangisa ngetemabhizinisi kepha kuphindze kube nemicithelwano yetemasiko kanye netemidlalo. Kubika Sondomlangeni, Nambonga Dube, Nanokpiwa Mpamali, Kamanzini.
Ichubekile imidlalo yetikolwa kumave langendasi nesifundza selvekathi le-Afrika eCOSAFA lapho khona idlalo letinkundleni letine lokufaka ekhatsi inkundla kaSomhlolo, inkundla yeManzini Club kanye naseholeni laseKwaluseni labe kudlala khona i-basketball. Eholeni labe kuthwalene khona amantombazana aseZimbabwe kanye newakuleli lapho khona kukhotha ecala e-Eswatini belandzela ngemaphuzu lalishumi njengoba iZimbabwe beyinala-12, i-Eswatini inamabili. Ngaphambi kokuthi kuphele yona ikhotha yecala, umdlalo umisiwe kulandzela kulimala kwemdlali wakuleli ehlombe, kanti lo mdlali ulimala nje bekude belisito lecala. Lisekela lamengameli we-basketball kuleli likhonile ukuthi lichumane nabo belisito lecala labathembisile ukuthi basendleleni kodwa kusahlanganiswa lo mbiko bebasengakefiki. Kule minye imidlalo ledlaliwe bafana bakuleli bemidlalo yebhola badlale ngekulingana nga-1-1 kwathi amantombazana akhala phansi kuLesotho ngemagoli lamabili ecanzeni. Le midlalo namuhla kungelesithathu nje etawuvalwa ngaloku semthethweni. Ngaklokunye sapha Ndlamini Longmabhalane wenhlangano leyengamele umdlalo welibhola lemphebedo kuleli uthi banhlangano babone kahle ukuthi bahlanganise abadlali abancane balomdlalo badlale kanye nalabo lesebakhulile kude kutonyusa lizinga lekuchuzelana ngalo ikakhulukati nabayodlala imidlalo yangephandle kwelive. Dlamini bekakhuluma nakuchubeka imidlalo yema-seniors lebeyidlalelwa enyuvesi yaseKwaluseni. Tingangwa mhleti indzaba telimi leSwati namhla ekuseni ichubeka uthamela lihlelo Kusile Breakfast Show emva kwa naleli khefu esifiso tawuxoxisana nebelitiko le-ICT.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba-researche bafunze.
being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza lokusembili.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart. and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's 36 minutes after 6 now. A critical conversation. You will remember in May this year, government took a decisive step in Eswatini's digital transformation. They launched the Government in Your Hand mobile app, and for the first time, a range of public services are no longer confined to offices, counters, as well as long queues, but they are now accessible in literally the palm of your hand. 3 months on, the questions are about progress. What services are already on the platform? How secure is it? And what more can citizens expect as the rollout continues to continues to roll out, rather. And to help us unpack this morning, we have Bongantlanga Mandla from the Ministry of ICT. He is, of course, e-government director, as well as Menzi Kumalo, the AI strategist from the Rail Science and Technology Park. A very good morning to the both of you, and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I see you guys have been really, really busy. It's been a busy year in Tlagamandla, hasn't it?
Of course, it has been a busy year.
And as it should. We speak about transforming our economy in the Kingdom of Eswatini. You look at the most developed nations across the world. We are seeing that the ICT sector is leading the charge in most of these sectors. But this conversation is about government in your hand, first and foremost. It was groundbreaking what we saw in May. But I wonder how the reception has been like a couple of months later from Eswatini. I just saw a news story, watching the news, and you were, articulating the numbers of the downloads that we've seen. How has that reception been like? Are you happy with, how it's been received?
Well, personally, we are not very happy with the numbers, knowing that we are just over 1 million people, and we are mostly youthful. So our youth, we know that they are using technology as much as possible. So we are saying now we want to encourage Eswatini to download the app and use the app. So the numbers, they are not very good currently, but we are hopeful that Eswatini will adopt this new way of doing things.
Menzi, let me come to you. The numbers can be better, as Mdunga says, but I suppose the numbers also speak to, how easily, I suppose, the integration of the app, as well as how easy to use it is for anyone in Eswatini, not just for me as someone who was, who had the advantage of going to school. You also think about Gogo. I know the minister says it has to be as inclusive as possible. When you look at the app yourself, do you feel like it allows literally anyone to be able to operate?
I think, thank you very much for this question, Sfiso. And I think where it is right now, we made it as simple as possible, so it's accessible to everybody. Obviously, we know that the app is available on all major platforms. That's Android, iPhone, and Huawei's app gallery.
Right.
But I think where we are right now, the reason maybe the numbers aren't hitting the highs we'd like is because not enough people know about it. We need to sort of bombard people with the knowledge of what the app can do, what it can be, and how it helps them Eswatini now. So I think that's where maybe we are lacking in regards to numbers. People just don't know about the app, because I was here on Monday and the outreach from that, even now in August, people are still like, oh, wow, we have something like this, we need to download it, which is why I think more care needs to go into educating Eswatini on what the app is, what it can do for them, and how it works.
Yeah. Speaking of how it works, let's get to that, Ndungwa, because, when we say May, and everything that was said prior to its launch, to me, it strikes me as something that is indeed groundbreaking. So let's speak to its components, right? The components of the app and the vision behind it.
Okay, well, the app is very nice. That is what I can say. The outlook, the development was ecstatic. I just want to pick a few things. Currently, we have 12 services that we have on the app. We have services where you can track your passport. You can track your ID at Home Affairs, and then you can also track your travel document. We can go also to education, where you can track for your scholarship. You can also apply for scholarship. If you go to public works, you're talking of renewing your vehicle license. So you can be able to do that on the app. And then you can go to the commerce businesses, where you can check for your company name. You can then secure that name. You can also register that company. You can also pay for your trading license. You can pay for your liquor licenses. So basically, if you look at the app, there's so much, and we've even made the app look very beautiful in that even weather updates. You can see weather update. It can inform you. Looking at if you want to see issues of temperature, weather for the day. It can also inform me on information like holidays. If it's a holiday today, you can be informed. If you want to call emergency numbers and you don't remember them, we have all of them there, captured there. And you can just at the palm of your hand, right, at a click of a button, you can do it.
I mean, it's impressive indeed. 12 services, and it's not just services. If you think about it, that's needed services. Menzi, I'm happy the minister recently spoke to, the Google partnership, addressing some of the lingering concerns around cybersecurity and data breaches of the Kingdom of Eswatini. But let's trickle it down. Let's run away from maybe national data and speak to personal data, because this app speaks to one person, if we're being honest. As a user, concerns around cybersecurity, if you will. How secure is the app? That's one. And two, what measures are in place to protect users' data? Do you give a user confidence that their data is protected?
Thank you very much for the questions, Fiso. I would like to say the app is actually very, very secure, because I think with the, obviously, National Data Security Act, there's a lot of things we need to do as entities to protect the user data.
Right.
And there are a lot of measures that have been taken with this app specifically. Not that we don't do it with other solutions, but this app directly, as you so rightly put it, touches the public in a way that no other app does. It uses personal data, and there's a lot of sensitive information there. So in that regard, I'd like to say the app is very, very secure. We have taken the right measures in order to sort of mitigate any cybersecurity threats. But also, I believe that the one thing Eswatini could help us with is update the app. Because the more they update the app, the more security measures we put in.
Okay.
Yes, there are loads of them in place right now that would ensure that no security risks happen. But I think continuous update of the app also to get new features is very, very essential.
Do we have a new update right now?
Yes, we have a new update.
Okay.
So for everyone who hasn't updated in the past 2 weeks, please go ahead and update your Government in Your Hand app.
If you haven't updated your app in the past 2 weeks, go ahead and update your Government in Your Hand app as soon as you can. That is not only going to help the developers, but it's going to help yourself as well as your data. Coming back to you, Nduma, I heard you speak about 3,000 downloads so far. That is the uptake, the number of downloads. What else would you like to say to the active users? And I suppose that is around over 2,000. I want to believe that would be really good. What feedback would you like to receive from the citizens who are using the app?
Yes, we want to hear what our citizens are saying. And it will help us that Eswatini tell us now how they feel about the app, how much it is helping them in addressing the issue of queues, because that is what we want to eliminate as much as possible. And because the app is available on the App Store, Google App Store, I want them also to give us reviews. Give us those positive reviews, and they give us those concerns, and then we will address them. What we can also promise is that we are working very hard in the background to add more services. So our key focus now is adding more services so that at least everything that is provided by government is available on the app.
And I suppose as you implore the users to, review the apps on the download platforms, that is your App Store, your Play Store on Android devices, I suppose you also do encourage them to sort of tell other people on their social media platforms about the app, as well as comment under your social media platforms, because I've seen you on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, you're pretty much everywhere.
Of course. And we want to get that feedback. We want to make this app the most wanted thing in Eswatini.
Let's talk AI integration. Anything that is AI integration on this app to sort of help the user in any way possible, because you guys talk AI every day and you say it's going to augment our reality.
All right, thank you very much for another great question, Fiso. Unfortunately for that one, I can neither confirm nor deny whether we have any AI integration into the app. But as it stands, we are looking at possible avenues to integrate AI into government in your hand. Possibly a few things that come to mind are AI chatbots, where Maswati can query questions even in Siswati and sort of get a response from the chatbot, or have the chatbot perform functions within the app itself. So those are just a few things. I can't digress too much because it is still in the pipeline. But yes, we're looking at integrating elements of artificial intelligence into government in your hand.
Impressive. Let's talk trade fair. It's commencing this Friday. Until, I suppose, it's a week. It's going to be for about, 7-8 days?
It's 10 days.
10 days.
Yes.
What do you have to promise the Maswati who want to come there and experience government in your hand, not only from the palm of their hands, but with you guys, the developers?
Yes, well, I think this year I would like to invite all Maswati to come to our pavilion. The ministry has secured a pavilion 5 this year. It's the first of its kind. So we are basically bringing all the ICT in under one roof. So it will be a hub, ICT hub at the trade fair. We have all our agents, parastatals. We have the Royal Science and Technology Park. We have EPTC. We have ESCOM. We have MTN. We have Eswatini TV. We have EBIS. And all the departments. We are under one roof. We are showcasing ICT. So I just want to encourage Maswati to come visit. We have prepared activities, a lot of activities, AI, robotics. We have startups showcasing their ideas. We have a government in your hand display, and we will be actually having also workshops empowering Maswati on various ICT topics. So we just want to say, and we will be giving away some nice freebies for those that will come. So I just want to encourage him also to come visit that pavilion. They will see something new this year.
You got me on freebies. I'll certainly come visit. Now, Kumaro, let's come back to you. Now, he speaks on some key stakeholders, that have made a lot of these new developments that we've seen a reality. I want to ask you, how essential are partnerships and collaborations and developing these apps for Maswati?
Very essential, Mr. Tumalo. There's a saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Right.
So partnerships and integration with all the other stakeholders, all the other sort of entities, they are essential to everything we do, not just for us, but for Maswati. So I think it's imperative that we stick together, see what can come out of all of our strengths, I'd like to say, and then sort of try and benefit the economy in Eswatini in the best way possible. So yes, they're very essential.
I want to ask you about inclusivity, because I know a big, the big ambition when you were developing the app was making sure that everyone is involved. I remember the minister speaking very candidly that as she says, she's really passionate about people in the remote areas. So let's speak about that. The elderly citizens, there's rural communities. We've heard that Wi-Fi has been installed across all Tinkunda centers. Those with limited digital literacy, how are you ensuring that everyone is included?
Yes, the ministry has taken a very aggressive approach in making sure that everyone harnesses the benefits of ICT. Right now, just recently, we launched the coding lessons, the Udacity, where Eswatini are going to get free education, different aspects, digital skills, AI, you go there, coding, you go there. So it's free. And we are saying actually everyone. What we have done to bridge the digital divide, we, as you have said, at Tingundleni we have free Wi-Fi and other public places, and we are also talking with other partners to increase that scope to make sure that Eswatini it's easy to access these services. And trainings at libraries, our libraries, there are free trainings and access to these services at our libraries. So basically that's that. And in the trade fair specifically, we have partnered with MTN. Whoever will want to come will download the app, will get a free data just to use, for themselves, and also encourage them to use it for themselves in other aspects of their So basically, we are promoting, and the ministry is going to do some road shows. We'll go out to the public just to help them, capacitate them in these areas.
It's very important, because then you get to meet everyone. Eswatini, we are very diverse, but Mtungwa is being humble here. I mean, both of you, Kumalo, Ndagamandla is being humble. He says, we have a Udacity program where young people in Eswatini will be trained, but he doesn't mention the number. 300,000 Eswatini are being targeted, and you look at our demographic dividend, it is quite a big deal. And I suppose that it's going to certainly help, for the skills that are needed for people to even understand at the very least level how to use these apps that you are developing.
No, most definitely say so. And I always believe that the best thing we can ever do as a Eswatini is empower the youth. They are the future, they are the workforce, they are the skill force. We need to empower them with the tools in order to create these solutions. Because overall, the way they impact us, if we have an educated youth force, the way it impacts us as Eswatini, it's exponential in every sense. We have skilled workers, we have more people that can design these solutions. It's more exposure for the country. So it's a win-win. But the first thing, as Mr. Ndagamandla so rightly said, is empowering the youth. That's where it all starts in every sense. We need to give them the tools they need.
Well, thank you so much to the both of you, and all the best at the trade fair. But also, most importantly, congratulations with everything that you've done as the Ministry of ICT. It's been really, really beautiful to watch. Government in your hand, Udacity, and I'm sure there's more in the pipeline. Wi-Fi services across all the Tinkunda centers. It's a lot. I can go on and go on, but thanks so much to the both of you, and all the best with everything.
Thank you.
Bonga Ndagamandla from the Ministry of ICT, as well as Menzi Kumalo from the Real Science and Technology Park, just tracking some of the Ministry of ICT's projects, but most importantly, the excitement around Government in Your Hand. It was launched in May this year, and 3 months on, we have tracked the progress, as well as looked at some of the plans that they have in the pipeline to further innovate and make sure that all Eswatini are part of this digital transformation that is happening in the Kingdom of Eswatini. So let's go for a net break. We'll be back shortly.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Wow, what a house. Maybe a little much for me though. Okay, this is probably more like what I can afford. Unless I could borrow the money to get something a little bigger. Perfect. But borrowing means that I could be in debt. And for a lot of people, that can be intimidating. But debt is really just a way of borrowing money with the promise of paying it back with interest. That sounds okay, right? Unless I would take out a big loan that I couldn't pay back. People take out loans all the time to buy houses, cars, to pay for school, all sorts of things. And it's not just people. Companies also borrow, and governments do it too. When a government borrows, it's called public debt or sovereign debt. Governments raise this money by issuing bonds and then selling them to the public with a guarantee that they'll pay them back. Just like people, countries need money to buy or build stuff that their income, mostly tax revenues, won't entirely pay for. Governments should invest their money wisely in things that help their citizens. Think of education or healthcare. Governments can also invest in things that will generate revenue or grow the economy, like infrastructure projects. Governments can also use the money to reduce taxes, or they can give it directly to its citizens who need the support. So, why are economists sometimes concerned by public debt? Well, for all the benefits that these funds can bring, there are also risks. Let's take two countries to demonstrate. Here's country A, and here's country B. Now, let's say both of them have borrowed roughly the same amount of money at roughly the same time. But looking closer, we can see they have very different economies, notably in size, measured by their gross domestic product, or GDP. Let's look at their debt levels again, but this time as a percentage of their GDP. And wow, you see the difference? Same debt, but very different outcomes. Countries are able to manage their debt when they borrow a reasonable amount relative to their ability to pay it. Country A's economy is big enough to pay the interest on the debt. If country B cannot pay things back, well, it gets harder to convince investors to lend you more money. And that is scary because it only gets harder from there. If an economic crisis hits, one of these guys will have the funds they need to respond. The other is going to need some help. The trick here is for governments, like country B, to invest the money they borrow wisely, which can help keep debt manageable. So, where does that leave me in my new house? Well, first, I need to adjust my own budget. I don't need that. You're gone. Definitely gone. And second, debt isn't about living beyond my means. It's about borrowing a reasonable amount relative to my ability to pay it, even if I do splurge every now and again.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're watching Kusile Breakfast Show, the Wednesday edition. This is our English news. His Majesty King Eswatini III has commissioned Butimba Regiment to begin the hunting expedition known as Butimba at Hlane Royal Residence. Present during the commissioning of the regiment by His Majesty were the Emakosigati to His Majesty, the royal family, as well as the Prime Minister.
After the trumpet was blown, the regiment gathered together and prepared for today's order. This followed the commissioning of the warriors by His Majesty the King and Ngwenyama on Sunday at Engabezweni Royal Residence and instructed the regiment to sleep over at Mafuteni Royal Crow, whereby then the regiment proceeded with the Royal Command to Hlane Royal Residence. Upon gathering at the royal residence, the regiment danced and sang Butimba songs with His Majesty the King and Ngwenyama. Present during the commissioning of the regiment by His Majesty were their Royal Highnesses, the Prime Minister, chiefs and royal councils, just to name a few. His Majesty's regiment attended this beautiful and cultural event in huge numbers as they have anticipated for it for the longest time, as we know that His Majesty normally commissions this regiment after a few years. This national event does not occur annually like most national ceremonies. After dancing and singing Butimba songs, Induna Komandanyani Makakula then communicated an order from His Majesty King Mswati III as to what is expected from the regiment. The Butimba regiment then proceeded with the Royal Command and began their journey to the destination that has been commanded by His Majesty. Upon arrival at the destination known as Mdolofieni, the regiment showed eagerness and strength of embarking on the real duty. His Majesty King Mswati III then instructed the regiment to begin with their hunting exercise.
ngesidingo samnika uthimba lamdolofina ulalele kahle jaha bethi bhamu bataba ngabona bangembili utawuthatha le ndlela ibhekeleni yawujiwalela kushiswe khona sesibuye emuva wena usibhamu nasekwelitwini yamatane ungadubula ubhekisele emuva ngoba kutalutho uyavakala jaha namhlanje yamatane asathi sitatidlela sitakhona tisu sekuthi fake kahle nasekhala ikilomo utawusho usale uma kudubula kuyela emuva nalethi yamatane ungazama usulokoze usutawuphuma ekhaleni nango ama-roadblocks abekiwe utawulethwa la asabonakala ukuthi nami nemoto yakho uyavakala jaha
The regiment will get an order from His Majesty as to what is expected from them the following day. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Temba Mamba and Sambulo Masugu at Hlane Royal Residence.
Well, the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Mandla Chawuka, pleads with the farmers to remove their livestock on the roads to avoid road accidents. The minister says as we are approaching the reed dance ceremony, tourists and the lives of Eswatini must be safe at all costs.
Livestock on the country's roads continues to be a pain for motorists as they pose great danger to the public and to motorists. When asked, the Minister of Public Works and Transport says their hands are tied for now due to the foot and mouth disease. The news crew spoke to the Minister of Agriculture, Mandla Chawuka, who asked farmers, especially those with livestock, to ensure that they graze their animals as far away as possible from the roads. The minister says there is a need for the construction of more where the cattle can be kept.
Singacela lokuthi sikhuthade ukuthi phela eMaswati awayicize imfuyo. Siye sithi imfuyo ingcebo eMaswati. Kulukhulu ngeke ukuthi ungayekela ingcebo yakho ihambe ihaza esigangeni ungayathi nokuthi lelephi bese idala leti ngoti lesiye sitibone eveni.
The minister says with the forthcoming reed dance ceremony, tourists will be coming into the country. It is therefore important that we ensure that the country's roads are clear from all dangers. The minister says farmers must ensure that they always keep an eye on their livestock. Reporting, I'm Kian Msibi with Lelith Mhlanga, Hlane.
Well, the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology will use the Eswatini International Trade Fair as a platform to educate the public on how to download and utilize the Government in Your Hand application. According to Bonga Ndlangamandla, the Director of E-Government in the Ministry, the app has already been downloaded 2,600 times. Ndlangamandla revealed this while discussing the Ministry's plans to showcase the app during the trade fair.
The Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology has officially launched the Government in Your Hand mobile application designed to help citizens access government services more faster and conveniently. Bonga Ndlangamandla, Director of E-Government at the Ministry, says that the app forms part of the Ministry's broader initiative to promote digital transformation across the country.
Kulithuba lethu thina silitiko laka ICT ukuthi sisale sisebenzisa lo mbukiso lo lokuthi sitivete eMaswatini silethe nale app lesikhuluma ngayo sibafundzise eMaswati ukuthi isebenta kanjani.
Ndlangamandla explained that the Eswatini International Trade Fair will serve as a key platform to educate the public about the Government in Your Hand application alongside other ICT programs. The ministry will use the trade fair to engage Eswatini and raise awareness about digital initiatives such as coding courses, which will be offered free of charge to all eMaswati. Dlangamandla says the ministry is committed to equipping the nation with essential digital skills. The ministry will collaborate with various parastatals, including the Real Science Technology Park, to showcase innovative digital projects developed by eMaswati. Reporting, Sondomlangeni Mbabane.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade is in the process of launching a whistleblowing line for micro, small and medium enterprises to report payment delays. Now, this follows complaints from MSMEs about late payments, including allegations of bribe demands by some officials. The Honourable Minister, Mangoba Khumalo, announced the move in response to outcries from businesses that are affected by the delays from government departments, parastatals as well as private companies.
One thing that we've observed is that a lot of these invoices sit within the ministries. They don't go to finance because some of the people in the ministries expect bribes so that they can process the invoice and it goes to the Ministry of Finance. So I have done an exercise personally where I followed through on some invoices where people were complaining of late payments, and I discovered that in all the 10 cases that I actually followed through, it was the ministry officials, the departments in the ministry that just sit with the invoices for no reason. I've also done a similar exercise with a few parastatals where people have complained and I followed through on their behalf. And again, I discover that the departments of finance in those parastatals do not know that there's an invoice that is now due for payment. It's still sitting with a department. We are going to open a line for people to report this to us. And when we then have done all the necessary work to ensure that that line is manned and people can get instant responses.
The Business Federation of Eswatini has commended the minister for the firm stance on delayed payments of micro, small and medium enterprises.
We have now and again visited the Ministry of Finance just to plead with them for payment of our MSMEs. And I think now that the Minister of Commerce has also taken this step, we are going to see better results.
The Federation of Eswatini Business Community FESBIC says they will hold the minister accountable for this promise. In a telephonic interview, the Chief Executive Officer Bensi Melane says the issue of late payment of suppliers has been a thorny one, leading to closure of businesses. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Fuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
Well, the government is close to finalizing a major review of civil service salaries. This follows the submission of a draft report to the Ministry of Public Service recently. This extensive review, the first since 2016, seeks to tackle concerns about the rising cost of living for government employees. However, implementation rests on how government will handle the review if it exceeds the budgeted amount for this financial year. The Minister for Finance, Honourable Neil Reichenberg, has explained.
The minister explains how they can address the review if it exceeds the budgeted 500 million emalangeni.
As you know, we have provided $500 million emalangeni in this year's budget, just as a preemptive budget amount for salary review. To try and find more money in this year's budget will be very, very difficult. And so, unfortunately, if the salary review is showing to be a much higher number, we're going to have to probably try to negotiate with the unions and see what we can do to maybe phase it. So listen, maybe a certain portion this year, a certain portion next year. We'll have to negotiate at that point and find solutions to the problems. But at the moment, until we know the number, it's very difficult to predict exactly what we can do.
The World Bank Economic Review report states that Eswatini's civil service comprises approximately 40,000 employees and receives over 10 billion emalangeni annually in salaries. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Mbabane.
The preparation for the Eswatini International Trade Fair continues as the trade fair is expected to commence on Friday. Speaking about the preparations, Sipesihle Ngabinde, the manager of domestic trade at the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, says that the preparations are at an advanced stage.
It is all systems go for the Eswatini International Trade Fair 57th edition, as local and international investors are already setting up their stalls.
This year's Eswatini International Trade Fair will commence on 29 August 2025 and conclude on the 8th of September 2025. The event will feature a variety of exciting activities, including the popular Win a Car competition. According to Spesihle Nkabinde from the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, preparations are currently at 85% complete.
Between today and Thursday, we'll be pushing the last mile in terms of getting ready for our first day, which is on Friday, on the 29th. So I will say companies are almost there, and we are still assisting in making sure that they exactly well. We have a Fit Friday, which should be happening this Friday on the first day of the trade fair, which is basically a wellness day. We'll be doing our aerobics, we'll be doing light training, we'll be having aspects, we'll be delivering some information around how to keep your body healthy and fit. So basically that will be the first activity. Then on Saturday, we'll be having a Claw with Us, where we are expecting companies in the space of beauty to be part of that session, and also we'll be having experts that will deliver some sessions around how to keep your body clean or how to keep your skin good.
The 2025 Eswatini International Trade Fair does not only bring innovation, business, cultural and sporting activities will also be showcased. Reporting Sondomlangeni, Mbongwa Dube, Nokpiwa Mpamali, Manzini.
On international news, the Israeli government on Tuesday faced renewed pressure to reach a deal to return hostages that were held in Gaza for nearly 2 years, as demonstrations escalated weekly protests by blocking a highway near the capital of Tel Aviv and rallying across the country.
Not for the first time across the country, Israeli protesters had a simple demand: that their government make a deal to bring the hostages home. 50 remain in Gaza, and Israeli officials believe around 20 are still alive.
I can't not think of something more important than ending this pointless, endless war and bringing back the hostages. There is a deal on the table, and I wish that the cabinet must and will discuss it and reach the conclusion to bring them home.
Earlier in the day, near the Prime Minister's office, protesters chant, trying to pressure government officials.
You know, it's been going for 2 years, and it's hard to keep coming when you feel that nobody listens to you. But I think that's the message to show that we're not giving up. We will fight until they come back, even though we feel the government is against us.
The protesters turned out in response to a call from Israel's Hostage and Missing Families Forum, whose relatives have been held since the October 7 attacks. Not content with the impact of their weekly Saturday protests, they sought to escalate the pressure on the government by blocking roads in Tel Aviv and rallying across the country.
France will sue the Australian streaming platform Kick for negligence after a user died during a live stream, a government minister said on Tuesday. Now, the platform has come under scrutiny in France after a 46-year-old Frenchman died in August during a 12-day live streaming marathon on his channel, which specialized in him enduring abuse or humiliation dished out by other participants.
After meeting with both regulators and ministries involved with the Jean Pormenove case, Claire Chapaz was not mincing words.
As for Kick, I'm making this my personal battle. Today, we reviewed the measures underway together with all the relevant services. Personally, I'll be taking legal action for breaches of the law on digital trust because I believe Kick did not do everything possible to stop the spread of dangerous content.
The Australian-owned platform is a competitor to the much larger Twitch. Both platforms allow people to live stream themselves, often playing video games. But it was the acts of abuse and humiliation during a 12-day streaming marathon on Kik that have caused outrage in France and calls for action. For months, the deceased had been abused and humiliated by two other streamers, Naruto and Safin, in front of tens of thousands of viewers. Kik is accused of violating a 2004 law that requires platforms to remove clearly illegal content. Tuesday, the Paris prosecutor also announced the opening of an investigation to examine if Kik knowingly broadcast videos of deliberate attacks on personal integrity. Investigations in the southern French city of Nice continue to try and determine the cause of death. An autopsy last week has already ruled out foul play.
A massive wall of dust swept through Phoenix, plunging the city into near-total darkness, grounding flights, forcing motorists off the road and cutting power to thousands. The giant haboob is a common phenomenon during the arid region's monsoon season. Haboobs form when a thunderstorm collapses, sending cold air crashing onto the desert floor, where it scoops up dust into a towering wall of sediment that can stretch for miles and rise thousands of feet.
A giant cloud of dust and sand engulfs the city in Arizona. Nothing slows its advance as it envelops everything in its path. Within seconds, day is turned into night across Phoenix. Known as a haboob, it's a natural phenomenon occurring during the arid region's monsoon season, a dust storm carried by the winds of a thunderstorm. Mondays caught some motorists by surprise.
Okay, so we are in the middle of a haboob and can't see anything. We're in the middle of the haboob. We're in our car.
Locals filmed the wall of dust, which approached suddenly at a rate of between 40 and 100 kilometers an hour, turning this residential area into what looks like a scene on Mars. The haboob and the heavy rain and wind that followed prevented takeoffs and landings at the city's international airport for an hour and caused some damage to a terminal roof.
Obviously, it is completely dark, almost like midnight now.
First, I thought lightning just struck the ground. It was fast but devastating at the same time, so it didn't last. It lasted as long as a normal dust storm would, but the damage that followed it was kind of a bit more.
Authorities say there were no casualties, but some trees were unable to stand up to the high winds. And tens of thousands of residents were left without power.
The leaders of France, Germany and Poland are to visit Moldova on August 27 in a show of support for the EU candidate country, which accuses Russia of seeking to destabilize it, the Elysee said on Friday.
These protesters have gathered following the call of pro-Russian oligarch Ilan Shor. As parliamentary elections draw closer, Moscow-aligned parties are intensifying their campaign.
We came here to express our disagreement with this dictatorial regime imposed by those in power. There's no other way to call it, because today there is no freedom of expression.
Ilan Shor has promised illegal financial compensation for demonstrators. Protesters deny receiving money, but the police regularly document such payments. According to the government, these rallies are part of a wider Kremlin propaganda campaign to influence the vote. This activist is trying to counter disinformation through explanatory videos on social media. His latest video debunks a deepfake featuring the head of the Electoral Commission.
The fact that a country like France intervenes in our elections is not considered foreign interference.
They discredit the Moldovan authorities so that pro-government, pro-European voters won't turn out, or so that those who support a pro-East, pro-Kremlin path become furious.
Experts estimate that Russia has invested nearly 100 million euros in its interference campaign in Moldova, including voter corruption partly financed through cryptocurrencies, according to several sources.
The money raised through these transactions is used, among other things, to influence Moldovan elections. Moldova is seen as a secondary target in the war against Ukraine. and can be used as a tool for destabilization.
Moldova began EU accession talks last year, but keeping a pro-European majority in parliament will be an uphill battle for President Maya Sandu's party.
Lebanon will present a plan on Sunday that is aimed at persuading Hezbollah to disarm, with Israel expected to submit a corresponding framework for its military withdrawal. Top U.S. envoy Thomas Barak said this on Tuesday.
Ramping up the pressure on Lebanon. The US delegation said it was expecting the Lebanese government to produce a plan at the end of the month for how to disarm Hezbollah.
Your government is coming back with a proposal August 31st. They're not talking about going to war. They're talking about how do we convince Hezbollah to give up those arms.
Now it's not about words, now it's about action.
The plan is part of Lebanon and Israel's ceasefire deal, mediated by the United States last November, which ended 2 months of open warfare between Israel and Hezbollah. In early August, the Lebanese government tasked the army with establishing a state monopoly on weapons by the end of the year. But it faces an uphill battle to convince the Iran-backed Shia movement without reigniting its civil war. In a televised speech, Hezbollah's leader reiterated how committed the group remained to its military arsenal.
This government decision does not have national consensus. We will not abandon the weapons that protect us from our enemy. We will not allow Israel to roam freely in our country and kill the resistance fighters and seize the south.
Hezbollah is making any discussion of disarmament conditional on the Jewish state withdrawing from its 5 positions in Lebanon, a schedule that clashes with Israel's, which signalled it would reduce its presence in Lebanon after the Lebanese army acted to disarm Hezbollah. Another uncertainty is the future of the UN peacekeeping mission UNIFIL. France and Lebanon want to renew the Blue Helmets mandate, unlike Israel and the United States. The latter signalling Tuesday it would only approve their extension for 1 more year.
And in Asia, India and China are racing to build mega dams along major rivers that would massively affect water supplies to both countries. Now, the source of that water is a glacier in Tibet, which supplies millions of people with water downstream, and there are high political and economic stakes.
This is currently the largest hydropower plant in the world in central China, but Beijing is building another that, when finished, would be 3 times as powerful as the current record holder. The construction site for the Moto hydropower station is located along the Yarlung-Tsangpo River in Tibet, which China annexed in 1951. India, worried that China will weaponize its control of the river, has planned to build a dam of its own in the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh. But when workers from India's largest hydropower company moved survey equipment in at the construction site, nearby villagers vandalized the machinery and even demolished a nearby bridge.
If the dam is constructed, how will we earn our livelihoods? So we will not allow the dam to be constructed. If the dam is built, the soil will be washed away. We produce our crops on this soil.
The battle over who controls the flow of water from a glacier on the Tibetan plateau affects millions of people living downriver in India, China, and Bangladesh. India's fears appear to be founded. A report by an Australian-based think tank concluded that control over the rivers in the Tibetan plateau would effectively give China a chokehold on India's economy. But villagers who live near the site of the Indian dam say their own country's plans would effectively destroy their way of life.
If the government forcefully moves forward with this project, the existence of our community will vanish from the map because the people will be scattered. There is no plan to relocate the people of this valley.
As for China's massive project, Beijing denies there would be a negative impact for those downstream, saying it expects to start generating energy from the dam by the early to mid-2030s.
In our sports news, Cyprian Dlamini, the secretary of the association governing the sport of tennis in the Kingdom of Eswatini, says as an association they saw it fit to bring together young players of the sport to play alongside the senior players in order to raise the level of competition, especially for those who will be competing in international tournaments. Dlamini was speaking during the continuation of the seniors tournament that was played at the University of Eswatini, Kusile.
The newly elected leadership of the Tennis Association, which assumed office last month, has pledged to ensure that young players are given adequate time and opportunities to develop. The executive says their goal is to prepare juniors with enough experience to compete successfully at international level. The association has already begun implementing strategies aimed at improving the standard of young players.
This association is select lama high performing juniors, so to boost their, to give them their listening because we have realized that they don't get enough time when they are going outside to play in international games.
These young players who had opportunity to train and play alongside seniors seem to be benefiting from the exposure.
I'm a junior
player, but I also double up as a senior player, which helps improve my game.
So
it helps a lot of juniors to improve their game, and we thank the title sponsor for these games. The matches were staged at the University of Eswatini in Kusile, where juniors competed in the singles category. Next weekend, doubles matches are expected to take center stage. Reporting, I'm Linda Dlamini with Parties on Siben Fabrice Msonera, Kusile.
All right, that is how we end our English news. The conversation is air pollution as well as perhaps other pollution after the break with North Sealands and Kusile Howe from the Eswatini Environmental Authority. Don't go anywhere.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula
nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusembili.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back to the program. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. On to this segment now, or this next interview. On Monday, the Eswatini Environment Authority issued an alert warning of dangerous air pollution levels in Mbabane. The air quality index recorded an unhealthy scale at 157. Now, the question would be, have the readings improved since, and what action, about other forms of pollution does this necessitate? Which is why I am now joined virtually by the Eswatini Environment Authority Environment Information Officer, Zandi Sile. However, very good morning to you, Zandi. Following the readings on Monday, how much of a concern should this be? How much of a concern is it actually?
So good morning to you and our viewers at home listening in. So after Monday's recording analysis, it is a huge concern because when these unhealthy levels rise in the air that we breathe, that means vulnerable groups such as pregnant women, children, and the elderly can get heavily affected, and even people who live with asthma. That means they will be experiencing some side effects that can be very harmful to them. But that reading was a cause for concern because that has an immediate impact to our lives as humans, as well as the nature and environment around us. So, but thankfully, since now we have these machines that are able to record these readings in Mbabane and Manzini, you can be able to closely monitor and perhaps see, is this common in the mornings or is this common in the evenings? We'll continue reading these analyses and be able to get some sort of feedback on what further actions we can do within the city of Mbabane. But even if these were readings for Mbabane, you can also across the country, you can see physical indicators of polluted air by something as simple as just seeing smoke in the atmosphere. This can be an indication that outside today, the air that you're going to be breathing has some elements of pollution. So do be cautious. Don't do any strenuous activities. Try to stay indoors when you see that outside.
What pollutants, have led or have been detected in Mbabane that led to this alert?
So
Right, it appears we're having a technical glitch there. That was Zandi Sile, how Information Officer at the Eswatini Environment Authority. We'll catch a break. After that, we'll try to be in conversation with her. This is Kusile Breakfast Show. Stay tuned.
The beats are louder, the vibes are bigger, and the stars are shining brighter. This is The Beatdown, your ultimate music and entertainment fix. With me every Saturday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Eswatini Television, Sibuko Semaswati.
Welcome back. As mentioned, we're in conversation with the Eswatini Environment Authority following a reading that raised alarm over air quality in the capital. And as we had commenced the conversation earlier, we were discussing this with the Eswatini Environment Information Officer Zanisile Hau, who is now back on the line, hopefully via a video link. Zanisile, I was asking, the figure on Monday read 157, which indicates unhealthy. Exactly what was some of the pollutants that were detected that led to this alert?
So the main pollutant that was recorded in these readings were particulate matter 2.5. This is a pollutant that's commonly produced when there's open burning. So it gets produced from the smoke and the soot from the wildfires, or even waste burning. It also comes from vehicular emissions from the cars, combustion from our cars that are not in good condition, and various other industrial processes that involve the chemical reactions between the gases to release your sulfur dioxide and all of those various compounds that then pollute the environment. Perhaps you then ask, what type of effects would that have on our health? Common short-term side effects are the irritation to the eyes, the throat, or the nose if you have sinus, asthma attacks, those who are asthmatic, coughing. Some people may experience chest tightness and shortness of breath. But this would be especially noted in those vulnerable groups, as previously mentioned, such as your children, pregnant women, and the elderly, and other people with chronic illnesses.
Stood at 157, Zandisile, on Monday, and today in the image that you shared with me, rather, there's been an improvement where we're seeing 61, so it says moderate. What are the acceptable figures that then define that, Mbabane citizens were actually, taking in quality and healthy, unpolluted air?
So it's definitely around those figures that you had previously mentioned, the 60. I think what will definitely also help a common person out there is that the color changes within these recordings. So if there's color green, that is quality air, that is good air. You can go out and do your running, your soccer. And then there's the yellow shade or orange to some other people, depending what type of color you see. But that would then be a moderate air. Still be cautious, but you can do your outdoor activities. And then when it's bad air, there's that red that you guys saw on Monday, to a great warning to people to stay indoors, close their windows, use an air purifier if they have one. Or if you do have to step outside, you have to wear a mask. And please do avoid doing strenuous activities such as your running, your soccer, and any activities that would really require you to be intaking a lot of air. So those would be the type of things our population could be able to dictate on what type of quality air they're breathing in today. And then as you had shared today, at least the recordings currently, they seem to be moderate. So that is safe for people to do their outdoor activities.
Staying indoors was actually going to be a difficult thing for many who have taken lessons from the lockdown. But while we have the discussion on pollution, Zandisile, data has it that in most African countries, vehicle emissions are a primary contributor to air pollution. Locally, under our NDCs, Eswatini intends to reach a 10% level of commercial use of an ethanol blend in petrol by 2030. While we combat climate change and environmental injustices, what share of Eswatini's pollution comes from vehicle gas emissions?
I think the accurate data results would be able to get them from our waste inspector, but also commonly in Eswatini, because we do import second-hand cars, of which their life expectancy would be very short, that be very close to their end of life, and that's why they'll be able to release these gas emissions that are harmful into the atmosphere. So a lot of people would be using those cars that are not in good condition. The very fact that your car is releasing gas, that means it's not in good condition, and it's definitely polluting the environment. And then, of course, there's the open waste burning that is also seen in rural areas and in some parts of urban areas that also contribute to the polluting of the air. So I think for Eswatini, these are the common contributions to air pollution.
Pollution and climate change are closely linked, Zandi. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warns that black carbon and methane both contribute to a rising global warming. Differentiate the two and expand how Eswatini we're tackling this link as a country.
So black carbon is a component of gas that's released through incomplete combustion from open burning or from your diesel exhaust or from dirty cook stoves. So it's a short-lived pollutant in the atmosphere, but it strongly warms the atmosphere and harms health of humans and other people and animals within the environment. And then now when it comes to methane, it's a very potent greenhouse gas emission emitted from landfills, wastewater, livestock, and other types of leaks. And it has a very long-term life within the atmosphere. It can even be lasting up to 12 years. So it also contributes to ground level ozone formation, which is another harmful pollutant to humans. So that is the differentiation between the two, that they do contribute to global warming as well as climate change.
Right. EEA spearheaded the Pata Sako campaign some years back to reduce single-use plastic bags to tackle waste, rather specifically plastic waste. Has this initiative been effective?
So the Pata Sako campaign was directly targeting single-use plastic carrier bags to do encourage that when you go to the store, indeed Pata Sako, squama, because these plastic carrier bags were noted to be a common waste pollutant within the environment, clogging our waterways and various systems across the country. So to help start tackling the issue of plastic pollution, we had just started with the plastic carrier bags. And what we had noted from recent studies is that there has been a 40% reduction in this plastic single carrier bags within the environment, which is good. So this means our animals are more protected because, as we know, those who are farmers, who have livestock, who have cows, if a cow eats that simple small plastic, you can no longer be able to sell it to the butchery, and even you yourself, as you cannot be able to eat it. So that's safer for our livestock as well as for us as humans, because these microplastics travel very easily within the atmosphere, carrying chemicals that are very harmful to humans, especially children. And most studies are even showing that we're starting to experience microplastics even in breast milk. So this being a huge concern globally, it's very good that at Eswatini we had started that, such as the Pata Sako campaign, to help address these issues.
Some time back, the Ministry of Natural Resources warned of pollution in certain water bodies in the country due to industrial discharges. If we're to have a thriving ecosystems, Zandisile, how serious is water pollution when it comes to our local water sources?
It is a great, great concern because unlike other developed countries, we do not have the vast technology to be able to properly extract all of the pollutants within our waterways. So it's very important that we just don't pollute it from the source. Industries should adhere to regulations to properly dispose of their waste and not dispose it into waste stream systems. And even you as a local user, don't be spilling your cooking oil within a waterway because it all comes back to you. So also something is protecting even our wetlands because they work as those natural purifiers of the water that we drink. So you may look at it, it has a huge role to play within our ecosystems. And studies do also show that these are the small things that contribute to the increasing levels of cancer within humans. So it's very important that we just take care of our water from source. Don't be throwing in plastics into a riverway or any type of waste. Try to protect all your wetlands that you live close to. Do not build on it. Don't even farm on it, because the chemicals that get released from these farming methods, they then pollute the water stream all the way to ground level water, which we're also noting to be a concern. That you would assume that the ground level water you're drinking is very clean, but are also starting to see that they are also getting polluted by some of these human activities that we do. So to encourage Eswatini to avoid all of those things, disregarding waste, industries to please comply with all of those environmental regulations so that we can be able to drink clean water.
Encouraging the need for individual action, because eventually it does come back to the one person. It also comes back to our health. Agriculture is one of the country's economic industries, and Kusile. Runoff from fertilizers and pesticides can pollute water sources. How can this be best managed to prevent soil and water contamination in the absence of the necessary technology?
One of the emerging types of best practices in agriculture, for example, is agroecology. This is a form of farming that helps protect the environment while also securing food security. So often the reason why we use these chemicals is to be able to protect our crops from pests, to be able to make sure that they're able to be resilient and survive these various weather conditions. But unfortunately, it then harms our soils. Soils have been seen to be infertile after some chemicals have been used, and also polluting our waterways that we also drink. So agroecology helps use organic farming, for example. For example, as a pesticides, you can even use rabbit urine, rabbit pee, to use it to fend off pests rather than using a harsh, harmful chemical. So this incorporates elements of using your ecosystem to help with your farming, to protect it, to make it more fertile, and various other methods. So also coming up, we will be working with Eswatini. They're also currently organizing an agroecology symposium scheduled for September. So this is a conference that young farmers, old farmers, everyone can come to be able to listen to the various safe environmental farming practices that they can use, so that you can be able to still secure food security for Eswatini while also still protecting our environment.
Let's talk about the recycling economy and waste management. You know, we have e-waste as well, and people actually just have a different understanding of how they should be handling their waste. When it comes to recycling, how effective are we in that regard?
So thankfully, there are some growing buyback centers across the country. You're probably asking yourself, what is a buyback center? A buyback center is essentially a place where you can be able to come with your waste, even household waste, but specifically we're looking at plastics, paper, cans, anything that is recyclable and in a good condition. And you go to these institutions and you're able to sell your waste to them actually, and they buy it from you. So our buyback centers, we do have them in Babane, Manzini, Stegi, as well as Ezulwini, specifically at Buga, as a waste center there. And we're also growing more waste centers across the country. It is actually within our national development plan to have some sort of a waste management system in all 59 Nkundlas. So if you're a young person in a rural area or in your Nkundla, there's no waste collection system, this is your opportunity to be able to establish one, because also as the authority, we do help support, give that technical advice before you'd like to start your business. So you may be able to know what type of waste is common, where you can collect it, and how you can be able to make an income, because there is indeed an income that can be made from collecting waste and reselling it. So there's some good progress that we're doing, but more can be done, working with industries, working with people at household level. We are always encouraging to separate from source. so that this waste you want to recycle is in good condition. So you're not just selling back a dirty bottle because they will not be able to buy that, as that will not be reusable. So it needs to be in good, clean condition. So when you're now separating it from source, it benefits you to sell you something at a good quality. And also you're encouraging, for example, backyard composting, whether in an urban area or a rural area. Instead of throwing your banana leaves and your avocado leaves into the dustbin, you can actually put it into your backyard pit, and this can be contributing to your organic fertilizer that you can use.
Zanisile, thank you very much for your insight. That was Environmental Information Officer from the Eswatini Environment Authority. Zanisile, how just showing insights on the recent recordings of pollution in the capital, that is Mbabane, and also the associated risk associated with pollution. She also highlights that there's a need for effective waste management, you know, where we separate from source and we also practice backyard composting. That's all for now. We'll catch a break. After that, Fiso and I will be wrapping up the show. This is Kusile Breakfast Show.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. It is 3 minutes before 8. This has been Kusile Breakfast Show. Sifiso, you know, we're just a couple of days from rolling the carpet for exhibitors and attendees at the International Trade Fair. I'm really looking forward to, you know, seeing Eswatini interacting with especially government. You know, the government in your hand initiative really is a game changer, how we can now just be able to access government services from the comfort of our smartphones.
Yes, it's pretty groundbreaking indeed, and not only groundbreaking, but also quite needed and, you know, urgent. And of course, we enjoy seeing such developments, and that's exactly why we try to, you know, hold these people accountable and question them and ask the uncomfortable questions. But I think what then becomes even more comforting and more beautiful to enjoy is seeing all these things come into reality. And, you know, government in your hand started as a conversation on this very desk, and then we saw it culminate, and we are seeing it getting improvements.
And so far over 2,000 downloads.
Oh, yeah, 2,600, and surely it's going to shoot after the trade fair, knowing how many people the trade fair is able to amass coming into that area. But also, you know, just an incredible conversation you had with Zandisile. She was quite eloquent and very articulate, and I learned quite a lot about the environment and pollution and the role that I have to play in making sure that we protect it.
It is not just your role, but it's everyone's role. We need to protect our environment and conserve our environment. This has been the Wednesday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye-bye.
Adios.